The stars blurred past the viewport, thin silver streaks trailing across black as the Virexian dreadnought Kesari Prime cruised through hyperspace. Inside its pulse-lit corridors, lined with glowing glyphs and whispering diagnostics, the crew carried out their duties with mechanical efficiency. Everything operated as it should, until you looked closer. Lyra sat with her legs tucked beneath her on the cushioned platform of the observation gallery, the only human among a floor of Virexian officers. She wore the sleek silver-gray garb issued to companion species, a polite euphemism for pets. Her attire shimmered like woven moonlight, designed to look dignified without affording any status. A gleaming collar circled her neck, not locked, not painful, but unmistakably symbolic. Her fingers moved slowly over the fur of the creature beside her. Shadow, her dog, a thick-coated Alaskan shepherd with coal-black eyes and silver-gray fur, lay pressed against her side. His breathing was calm, but the twitching of his ears showed that, like Lyra, he was listening to everything. Commander Saria, the ship's ranking officer, stood at the center of the command deck, arms behind her back, gazing at a scrolling tactical map. Her skin shimmered faintly, the signature azure of her species pulsing softly with emotion beneath the surface. She was taller than most humans, her body sheathed in a uniform that was more armor than cloth. Her eyes drifted toward Lyra occasionally, not hostile but calculating. Curious. You seem focused today, Saria said without turning, her voice melodic but detached. Lyra didn't answer immediately. She was always careful with her words. I like watching the stars, she said. They don't change. Everything else does. The commander glanced her way again. How poetic. I was told humans were mostly instinct and emotion. Most things are. Even Virexians. That earned a chuckle from an officer nearby, quickly silenced by Saria's glance. She approached, her boots quiet against the polyfiber floor. You speak well, Lyra. Better than most of your kind. Some would say dangerously well. I've learned to listen, Lyra replied, her tone soft. That's all. Saria's eyes flicked to the dog. And he? Still mute. Shadow opened one eye, then closed it again, his massive head resting across Lyra's lap. He listens too, Lyra said. The commander's voice sharpened. He bit one of the guards 2 cycles ago. Lyra looked up, her expression carefully neutral. He was protecting me. He is a dog, Saria said, as though the word itself should dismiss the issue. Protectiveness is a pattern, not intent. Lyra didn't respond. Instead, she resumed running her fingers through Shadow's fur. The silence stretched, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's systems and the quiet, clicking chatter of alien technicians. Despite appearances, Lyra's mind was racing. She had been aboard the Kesari Prime for 6 cycles. Enough time to map its routines, mark its weaknesses, and understand its culture. She had learned their language in weeks, memorized their security patterns in days, and endured the indignity of being a pet for one reason, survival. And maybe, just maybe, retaliation. Shadow's breath shifted subtly. Lyra paused. That single change in rhythm meant something. She followed his eyes. Near the entry corridor, a cluster of uniformed aliens entered. Heavier armor, no insignia. Not crew. Mercenaries. Saria noticed too. Her stance stiffened as she turned. Explain your presence, she demanded. The lead mercenary stepped forward, reptilian and broad-shouldered, with a blade-like ridge down the center of his face. New orders from the Threxan Coalition, he said. This ship is being reassigned under temporary command. No such reassignment was logged. Now it is. Saria reached for the data pad at her belt, but before her fingers closed around it, the mercenary raised a disruptor pistol and fired. She dropped without a sound. Chaos erupted. Officers stood, some reaching for weapons, others frozen in disbelief. The mercenaries moved fast, trained, efficient, and brutal. Within seconds, the command deck was under their control. Lyra didn't move. She kept her hands steady on Shadow's neck, whispering something too low for anyone else to hear. Wait, not yet. The dog stilled, muscles taut, eyes burning with quiet rage. One of the mercenaries, smaller, thinner, with twitchy hands, noticed them. He walked over, peering down at Lyra with amused contempt. Well now, what's this? The commander's plaything? Looks more aware than most of the other pets. He reached out, casually, to grab Lyra by the arm. Shadow surged upward. His growl was unlike anything the mercenary had ever heard, deep, raw, primal. The alien flinched, pulling back his hand. What the? Is this thing trained? Lyra stood slowly, shielding Shadow with her body. He doesn't like strangers. Another mercenary, this one more brutish, stepped forward. We're clearing out the cargo. Pets go to containment. I'm not cargo, Lyra said. The brutish one laughed and backhanded her across the face. She staggered but didn't fall. And then Shadow moved. There was no hesitation. He lunged, jaws wide, and sank his teeth into the alien's arm with a crunch of bone and a burst of greenish blood. The alien screamed, slamming a fist into Shadow's side, but the dog didn't let go. He twisted, dragging the mercenary down. The thin one raised his weapon. No! Lyra shouted. The blast missed, barely. Lyra ducked, grabbing the fallen mercenary's sidearm. She had trained for years. Her hands were fast. One shot. The thin alien dropped. The others turned in unison. Shadow let go of the dying brute and backed toward Lyra, blood dripping from his jaws. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then alarms screamed to life. Lyra fired 2 more times, clean, center-mass shots, and bolted for the side corridor with Shadow on her heels. She didn't need to think. She knew every corner of the ship. They ran. Behind them, chaos multiplied. Mercenaries shouted, sirens wailed, and the ship's systems flickered under new control. But Lyra had one advantage no one counted on. They all thought she was a pet. No one had ever watched her closely enough to know what she really was. She and Shadow ducked into the maintenance ducts, crawling fast. Her shoulder ached where the blow had landed. Blood trickled from a cut above her brow, but she didn't slow down. Shadow was a silent shadow behind her, occasionally nudging her with his nose when she faltered. They reached an access panel. Lyra yanked it open and dropped into a storage bay. She took 2 deep breaths, then locked the door behind them. For now, it would hold. Shadow paced, growling low, his fur bristling. Lyra touched his side. We're not done yet, she whispered. But you did good, boy. You did so good. He looked up at her with eyes that held far more than instinct. They held understanding. Lyra leaned against the wall, listening as footsteps echoed down the corridor beyond. The rebellion had started. Not by strategy. Not by design. But by blood. They'd laughed at her. They'd laughed at humans. They'd laughed at dogs. They wouldn't be laughing much longer. The ship groaned around them, as if aware of the blood spilled on its floors. Lyra crouched by the wall panel, breath slow, heart measured, her fingers dancing over the maintenance console. Shadow lay beside her, alert, tail low, eyes sharp. The storage bay lights flickered above them, weak and intermittent. Enough to see, not enough to feel safe. They'd only bought minutes. Not an escape. Lyra had once read that wars started with a gunshot, but revolutions started with silence. This wasn't war. Not yet. This was the moment between breath and scream. She just had to hold it long enough. A blue flicker blinked twice. The relay access was live. Her fingers moved faster now, navigating alien commands with fluent certainty. She pulled up a ship-wide schematic. The mercenaries had locked out navigation controls, seized the bridge, and overridden the main AI loop. But they hadn't bothered to scrub subroutine permissions. They didn't think she could read Virexian code. They'd made a mistake. She rerouted environmental diagnostics through secondary protocols, disabling surveillance in 5 non-critical sections, one of them directly under engineering. Her lips twitched in a grim smile. It wouldn't last. But it didn't need to. Shadow gave a low growl. She looked up. The door's outer lock had just cycled. Time's up. She shoved the panel shut, stood, and pressed her hand lightly to Shadow's neck. Quiet now, she whispered. They slipped out a side hatch just as the main door exploded inward. The blast wave rocked the storage room. Lyra ducked low, half dragging Shadow through a narrow conduit toward the gravity regulators. It was hotter here, the air thick with ozone and dust. She didn't mind. Her ancestors had lived in worse. Shadow climbed after her with smooth precision. He was bleeding, a small gash along his flank, but steady. No hesitation in his limbs. No confusion in his eyes. He knew what he was doing. More than a few of the intelligent species could learn from him. They emerged into a corridor pulsing with red emergency light. Lyra scanned the hall. Empty. She knew why. The mercenaries had deployed flash grenades earlier, non-lethal, disorienting. The standard, subdue and sweep, tactic. But they hadn't considered humans outside their cages, much less armed. Lyra still had the disruptor pistol. One charge left. She kept it tight to her side. 2 turns later, she reached the emergency conduit into lower engineering. It was locked, manual override only. She reached into her boot and withdrew a narrow spike, jamming it into the panel's seam and levering the hatch free. It hissed open. Hot steam burst out. She slid in, boots skimming the rungs. Shadow followed. Inside, the hum of the core was louder, a living pulse vibrating through her bones. The room shimmered with heat. 4 engineers worked frantically at their consoles, unaware of her approach. Then one turned. Kyle. Half human, half Drexery. Taller than Lyra, leaner, with dark eyes and copper skin marked by the subtle glint of cybernetic filaments. He froze, blinking. Lyra. She held up a hand. Not here to hurt you. He took a step forward. You were on the bridge. Seria's? Gone, she said. They shot her. Mercenaries. Threxan coalition. The others turned now. All crew. All unarmed. You can't be here, one of them said. They'll kill you. They'll kill everyone if they get full system control, she snapped. Kyle. They haven't reached the grav shield bypass, right? He hesitated. Then nodded. Not yet. Good. I need a line into comms. And I need your help. The others looked uncertain, but Kyle's eyes sharpened. You planned for this. No, she said. I prepared for it. He stared a second longer, then nodded. I'll take her to the relay, he said. You 3 hold position. If they come, stall them. Lyra followed Kyle down a maintenance shaft, Shadow close behind. As they moved, she explained everything in clipped, fast sentences. Kyle listened in silence. You want to send a burst transmission off-ship? He asked when she finished. Yes. On an old frequency. Earthbase. One they won't scan. Assuming anyone's listening on that frequency. They will be. You think they'll come for you? I think they'll come for him, she said, nodding at Shadow. Kyle gave her a skeptical look. It's just a dog. No, she said. He's my dog. The relay chamber was a small hexagonal room lit with amber strips. Kyle went to the console while Lyra pulled a coiled wire from the emergency interface. She worked fast, linking it to the old pulse transmitter she'd hidden inside her boot sole, a relic from Earth's last defensive fleet. She activated it. A blue light blinked once. Recording, the system chirped in Virexian. She spoke clearly, voice low but firm. This is Lyra Talon of Earth. Human. Alive and aboard the HFY Prime. The ship's been taken by mercenaries under Threxan banner. Commander Seria is dead. Repeating, Commander Seria is dead. They're clearing non-compliant species. I am not requesting extraction. I am requesting recognition of active resistance. I have tactical data. I have location codes. And I have him. She looked at Shadow, whose eyes glinted under the console light. She ended the transmission. Ping cycle, she asked. Every 22 minutes, Kyle said. If they haven't jammed it by then. Then we make sure they don't find it before that. Footsteps echoed down the shaft. Too soon. Kyle yanked open the rear hatch. Secondary vent, go. She hesitated. Come with us. I'll hold them off. You'll die. I probably will. But someone has to. She stared at him, then nodded once. I'll make it count. Lyra ducked into the vent with Shadow, twisting through the tight curves until they burst into the waste reprocessing unit. It stank, it groaned, and it was unmonitored. They collapsed behind a metal tank. Shadow nuzzled her cheek. She didn't cry. She waited. 10 minutes passed. 12. At 18 minutes, the lights flickered. At 22, the ship shuddered. A deep vibration rolled through the hull like thunder underwater. Then, nothing. Until a soft voice echoed through the walls. "We received your message." Lyra sat up. It was a human voice. "Who are you?" Lyra whispered. "We are the response," said the voice. "Stay alive." Eyes on sky. Then silence. Lyra looked at Shadow. He wagged his tail once. Far above, in the black silence between stars, something stirred. And it was not laughing. Silence reigned after the voice vanished. Not a mechanical hum, not the shuffle of boots, just the slow drip of recycled condensation and the soft, controlled breath of a woman and her dog in the dark. Shadow's ears twitched first. Lyra felt it before she heard it, the distant groan of the ship's structure, followed by a subtle change in atmospheric pressure. A ship had exited hyperspace nearby. Powerful. Not Threxan. She didn't smile. It wasn't over. They crawled out of the waste chamber and moved toward the secondary lift shaft, bypassing every main corridor. Lyra's hand never left her pistol. Shadow led, nose low, body tight and deliberate. A predator on a scent. By the time they reached the upper flight chamber, they could hear the change in tone across the ship. Tension. Boots moving faster. Orders shouted. Something had unsettled the mercs. Lyra peered around the corner. 2 guards outside the core lift. 2 alert. No chance of sneaking past. She tapped Shadow's flank, pointed left. He nodded, an actual nod, then bolted. The guard shouted. The first raised his rifle, but Shadow moved like smoke. He collided with the shooter's legs, teeth sinking in. The second stumbled back. Lyra fired once. The disruptor hummed. The second man collapsed. The first screamed. Lyra stepped in. Release or die. The man dropped the weapon. Shadow let go. Lyra fired again. No scream this time. They stepped into the lift. Level 4. Primary bridge. She reloaded the disruptor with her final emergency cell. A single shot left. The doors opened onto chaos. The bridge wasn't under control. It was under siege. The forward viewport showed a massive warship bearing Earth markings. Sleek, dark, silent. A ghost from another time. The Calmarin's wake. Decommissioned. Lost in deep space. And now, apparently very alive. Mercenaries barked orders, screaming into failed comms. One tried to initiate jump sequence. Error, the AI replied. Gravlock engaged by external override. Another mercenary punched the console. Lyra stepped forward. No one saw her. Commander's down, one shouted. Repeat, the human shot the commander. Another responded, she's in the system. Find her before they dock. Lyra's eyes landed on the new commander. A Threxan, tall and silver-scaled, battle-scarred and confident. He paced with one hand on his blade and another on the comms panel. Human, he said into the mic, you hear me? I know you do. You're clever. Braver than you should be. But you will die. That ship won't risk a full assault. Too many innocents. So I offer you a trade. He paused. Yourself, for the lives of the remaining crew. Lyra exhaled slowly. He was right about one thing. The wake wouldn't fire. The coalition had taken a human, yes, but they'd also taken over 24 other species diplomats. Firing would cause more damage than any one rescue could justify. She glanced at Shadow. His growl was barely audible. Then a whisper came through her comlink, patched from an unknown relay. We're docked, said the same calm voice from before. 1 hull pierce, starboard. Secure room. 1 minute. Lyra moved. Shadow followed. They didn't go for the bridge. They went for the side path, the narrow maintenance ducts that ran under the primary helm. She had 60 seconds. Through the vent. Around the curved junction. Up into the secondary comms relay. She pushed open the panel and rolled into a narrow side chamber just as a man turned, startled. Human. Uniform of Earth's Void Response Division. The the same crest as the wake. He stared. "You're the girl with the dog," he said. Lyra raised the pistol. "Are you real?" I could ask the same. Then, behind him, another stepped forward. Older. Gray uniform. "I'm Admiral Reese," she said. "We got your signal." Shadow stepped forward. Sniffed her boot. Sat down. "She's real," Lyra said. Reese nodded. "We only have a window of 4 minutes before their reinforcements circle back. We breach, grab the bridge, disable helm, and signal orbit lock. You with us?" Lyra lifted her chin. "What do you need?" The Admiral smiled. "Just you. And the dog." The plan wasn't complicated. It didn't need to be. Most of the mercs had fallen into chaos. Comms failed. Orders crumbled. Leadership collapsed. All Lyra had to do was get to the helm console and sync the virus from the Wake's override signal. 3 corridors. 1 vertical shaft. 40 seconds of cover fire. Shadow moved like a bullet. Lyra followed. The blast doors opened with a thrum, and Earth Marines flooded through, clearing the upper deck. Screams. Pulse fire. Metal shearing. Lyra rolled over the threshold, ducked a sweeping bolt, and slammed her hand into the console. Her palm print activated the override bridge. Identity confirmed, the ship whispered. Talon Lyra. Rank, Junior Specialist. Authorization code, Sentinel. The virus poured in like fire. Screens blinked. Threxan weapons shut down. Lights flickered. And then, the AI returned. "Welcome, Lyra," it said softly. "You're home." She slumped against the console, shaking. Shadow leaned against her, still and strong. The remaining mercenaries dropped their weapons. Above them, the Calmarin's Wake blinked its docking lights. 10 minutes later, the bridge was secured. The prisoners freed. Coalition remnants subdued or fled. Reese stood beside her, watching the viewport. "That dog," she said, "is something else." Lyra nodded. "He's not just a dog." Reese glanced at her. "We've had dogs. None of them take down armed soldiers. He's not trained for war. He's trained for me." Reese studied Shadow a moment longer. "We're going to need people like you. People like him." Lyra looked past the stars. "Then you'd better be ready," she said. "Because there are more like me. And they all have something to fight for." Shadow barked once. And for the first time in years, no one laughed.